I'm so honored and pleased to introduce our special guest, Byron Spruell, President, League Operations at the National Basketball Association, University Trustee member, and most importantly for Mendoza, an alum. An alum from the Notre Dame MBA program from the class of '89. Before I further introduce Byron, I will first describe the format of today's events. At the beginning, Byron will speak for several minutes and then share a sizzle video with us. I think this is the first sizzle video we've ever had in this series. After that, Byron and I will sit down for a discussion. And then at the end, we will also take questions from you, the audience. So as President, League Operations at the National Basketball Association, Byron Spruell oversees critical league operations, including domestic and international basketball operations, referee operations, and basketball strategy and analytics. He's principally responsible for the processes regarding the management of rule changes, the development, evaluation, and training of game officials, the enforcement of conduct standards and discipline, and the application of analytics, innovation, and strategy on the future evolution of the game. Prior to joining the NBA in 2016, Byron spent 20 years at Deloitte, most recently as its Vice Chairman, Central Region Market Leader. Byron grew up in Cleveland and earned a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and an MBA from the University of Notre Dame. He met his wife, Cedra, at Notre Dame, and they have 2 children. The oldest also went to Notre Dame. He was an offensive lineman and co-captain of the Fighting Irish football team, and currently serves as on the university's Board of Trustees and as an advisor of the Monogram Club. We're so grateful that you're here. Please join me in welcoming Byron Spruell. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. We had a breakfast this morning, and I said, Martin, Dean, Professor, Doctor. He said, Martin, please, just Martin, just Martin. So Martin, thank you and the Mendoza College of Business for this invitation. Jean Mead actually reminded me that I was here probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I told her I've grown since then, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So Martin gave the introduction. I almost cut him off because I didn't want him to go too long, because I'm actually going to hit a few of those points, because I actually feel like in our discussion today, there are some things I just want to offer to you in a way that gets to a few of my favorites. So I'll talk a little bit about the journey. As Martin said, after that, have a little sizzle reel for you, get you excited about NBA basketball and basketball in general. And then we will have a fireside chat and just let you into a conversation and then open up the questions. Oh, by the way, we want to have some fun here too. So I hope on a Football Friday, you're going to bring the energy, because I'm going to actually try to bring it. There we go. Go Irish, go Irish, go Irish. Gotta have that, gotta have that. So I'm going to start with one of my, you're going to hear a lot of favorites, but my favorite quote. And I actually serve on the Jackie Robinson Foundation Board, that sort of trifecta of inclusion, education, and sports. Count me in. And so I've been on that board now 10 plus years. But Jackie Robinson himself said a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Now, if you believe that, and you really think about it for a moment, that means along your journey, people are gonna offer you advice to make an impact. But guess what? If you're on the other side of that, you have to be in a mindset to receive that advice. You may not agree with it. You may agree with it. But that goes both ways, is the point, in terms of impacting lives. I try to live my life a bit by this, from family, from friends, from colleagues. I have a few colleagues here from recent days and older days. And so I hope they would be testimonies to what I'm about to lay out for you. I hope also that in the spirit of this, that's the energy I want to bring to you. This is not about Byron grandstanding about who he is and all that. This is about a journey that has a few nuggets along the way, and I hope you'll receive it that way. Is that fair? All right. So with that, Martin kind of laid it out, but I'm gonna go a little bit deeper, because again, there's some just catalytic moments. I'm a real believer of people who have influenced you, events that have influenced you, activities and catalytic moments that have influenced you along our journeys. And so again, through favorite stories here, I'm gonna try to lay all that out. But Martin mentioned it, I'm hail originally from Cleveland, Ohio, middle class, Midwest America. Plain and simple. My two parents, bless their souls, Dad Walter was an industrial engineer, and my mom was a seamstress. Simple and plain, middle class, right? But they always told me and my two siblings, one still living, my sister is 7 years older, down in Houston, Texas. My brother actually passed heart attack when he was 50, and I'm the baby. And so what mom and dad always said was, Byron, you all are blessed with talents and gifts. Just use those to the best of your ability. That's it. Always do your best. Use those to the best of your abilities. Again, simple and plain. My best actually landed me as top of my class in high school and also had some athletic skills. I actually started in gymnastics, and if somebody forced me, I think I still could. Got this little pathway here. I probably still could do a little bit of a handstand or maybe even a cartwheel, not a round off, I don't think anymore. But I started in gymnastics, outgrew that, but loved the game of baseball, which I only played for a little bit in Little League. Absolutely fell in love even more with the game of basketball. And then football was actually my best path. I liked football, but I didn't love it like basketball, to be honest with you. But I knew it was my best path to Division I opportunities, okay? So, long story short, I was just actually with Coach Shrewsbury, because I knew as a center at Aurora High School, at my size, that's a small guard today, right? I'm like 6'4", 6'5". So I knew that wasn't the path. Probably Division III or other opportunities, but Division I opportunities for football. I was recruited across the country, including Ivy League schools, given the academic background, but I wanted to simply go to the place that had the best academic and athletic combination. I'm a little biased, but I think even 37 years later, that was a great decision. Actually, 41 years later, if you go back to early days of high school, right? Now, having said that, there were a few people along the way who said, Byron, my coach, Coach Black, high school coach, he said, Byron, make sure you're going to a place that is gonna continue to grow you as a young man. He called me big. Make sure you go to a place that's gonna continue to grow you academically and athletically. Got it, coach. My 6th grade teacher was the one that put in my mind that, Byron, you're so great at math and science, you ought to be an engineer. So you combine those two things together and ultimately get offers across the country. I cut it off at Nebraska with Tom Osborne because I wanted my folks to still be able to come see me play. Ohio State, obviously being from Cleveland, being from Ohio, pretty big on me, but ended up at Notre Dame because of the academic and athletic excellence and commitment to excellence, right? At Notre Dame, I did pursue the engineering degree, ultimately got it in 4 years, mechanical engineering degree. Met my wife along the way, who Loretta knows. She was an aerospace engineer. She's from New Jersey. We met freshman year and dated throughout. So we're undergrad engineers, mechanical, aerospace. I stay on to get my MBA, College of Mendoza, College of Business. And she stays on to get her graduate in aerospace. From there, we think about, well, what's the best opportunities for us as a family? We hadn't started a family yet. We had a dog, Sam. But other than that, we were just starting off. So our best opportunities happened to be in Houston for her to start at NASA, which she did for many, many years. And for me, it was in consulting. But I go back to, again, 2 catalytic conversations. One with Professor Clay Smith here in the management school, at the time. He said, Byron, you've shown that you're adaptable, you can learn quickly, but he said, I would advise you to think really hard at consulting. And consulting is much different then than what it is now. But he said, in a corporate environment, this is his view, I didn't have to agree with it, but it's his view. He said, in a corporate environment, that's great, you can always do that later. Pick an industry, specialize in it. But he said, I would really advise you to think about all the consulting environments, go fast, learn a lot, see a lot of different industries, see a lot of different organizations, and go that route. Thanks, Dr. Clay Smith. The other one was Lou Holtz. Lou quickly said, Byron, what's important now is for you to go to a place where you trust the people, they love what they do, and they're committed to your excellence, TLC. Lou said that on the field, he said it off the field, he said it in private discussions. But he was all about TLC and being a coach, not only in the moment, but for life. And to this day, that whole 4 years for 40 really plays out. So between those two conversations and other advice, I land myself at Navigant Consulting, what it is today. It was Peterson Consulting, so litigation support consulting. Spent 7 years there. The nice part about Navigant, then Peterson, was not only were they great in consulting, but they were entrepreneurial by its spirit. It was a spin out of Anderson Consulting at the time, and they had to eat what they killed. And so very young as a consultant, you learn to actually sell, which was great, because the only thing people can do is say no. So you kind of build up that credibility, that equity. Say, okay, I'm okay having a conversation. All they can do is say no. But that environment of client service was so important for 7 years. And then the big, bold, global brand of Deloitte actually comes calling. Because they, at the time, I was in Houston, again with my wife, focused on her aerospace business and opportunity at NASA. But it was a good time to think about what was next from the standpoint of consulting. And so Deloitte offered me and us an opportunity to make a shift because they, at the time, were building out a smaller consulting firm within. Again, catalytic moment, who can make it up? So I then spent 20 years at Deloitte, probably had 5 different jobs and experiences within the 20 years, growing up as a senior manager, ultimately a partner, a leadership partner. But the one person in particular that I never would have even had the opportunity to meet, but for counsel from another partner saying, Byron, you're on this young advisory council, young advisory partner council, and you're not taking full advantage of it. You need to really engage with our top leadership that you're getting a chance to be exposed to. One of those people was Barry Salzberg, who was then the managing partner, went on to become the US CEO, and then went on to become the global CEO. Well, I get a little tap on the shoulder that I'm one of 3 people that get the opportunity to potentially be Barry's chief of staff when he moves on from managing partner to US CEO. Oh my goodness, what a game changer. Not only a mentor to this day, but a sponsor, because he was able to give me an opportunity not only to be his chief of staff while he was for 4 years while he was US CEO, but then also when we went on to be global CEO, I became a person on his org chart. Guess who did the org charts, by the way? And I said, Barry, you asked me to be with you for 4 years. He said, all I ask you to do is commit to it, and we'll see where you go from there. Once you do the org charts, you kind of go, Barry, I think I can either be in that box or that box. What do you think? He's like, you pick it. So again, these type of catalytic moments aren't a coincidence in my view. They really do make a difference. One more, because you see the NBA brand up there. Not looking, having a great career at Deloitte, making my way through the ranks. After that role with Barry on the global basis, leading financial advisory services globally, I then moved back to Chicago. In that last role, I had the managing partner of Central as well as the Chicago office, the CEO of the market, if you will, for Deloitte on a geography basis. And so, not looking. In fact, I'm 51 at the time. I think I'm going to mandatory retire at Deloitte several years later, 60, 62. Out of the blue, but through a relationship, guy at an executive search firm from Heidrick & Struggles, who I know, actually calls me and says, Byron, I know you love Deloitte. I know you're doing good there. But I've got this opportunity that I'd love to put your name forward. Okay, Billy, I trust you. So he didn't even tell me what it was at the time. I trust you. He puts my name forward, calls me back about 2 months later, and I'll make a very long story short. After a 6-month interview process, and the job description that says change management, stakeholder management, process improvement, evolution of the game of basketball, global relationships. So all the things that my wife read at Caesar, she's like, Byron, that kind of looks and feels like you. You absolutely need to pursue that. So 6 months later, after visiting with and having interviews with the executive team I'm now part of, and that was the first gauntlet, as the HR person tells me now. The second was meet with 6 governors, team owners. And after those fascinating discussions, I get a call from Adam Silver. It says, Byron, welcome to the NBA. This is July of 2016, all right? Now, mind you, coming out of Notre Dame, that academic and athletic excellence, I would have loved to have gone to the NFL, but did not make it. Did not make it. But how cool was it for me to get a call from the NBA commissioner to say, welcome professionally, right? 2 other quick things and I'll move on. What else happened in 2016 from a excellence in sports perspective? Anybody? One just recently happened. Olympics, thank you, Olympics. So my first official, I started in August of 2016 after that interview process. My first official role in the job is to go down to the Olympics in Rio and support USA basketball. That's pretty cool. The second is, and again, you can't make this stuff up, but I'm a firm believer of purpose and purpose-driven lives. Rick Warren. Who recalls the winner of the 2016 championship? Anybody? The Cleveland Cavaliers. Can't make it up. So I'm literally sitting, first official game that I go to in this role is sitting in Quicken Loans Arena, watching Adam Silver give out rings to the Cleveland Cavaliers. You cannot make it up, guys. I'm telling you, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. So this group will know, but I'll ask the question anyway. Who's the guy in the picture? Tim Brown. Tim Brown, great friend of mine. He's one of a handful of Heisman Trophy winners and NFL Hall of Famers. Handful. Google it. Special, special guy. Humble. Man of faith. Obviously an exceptional football player. What do you notice about the picture, particularly the details on Tim? That's a live shot from about the 20, 25-yard line. You see the blurred audience, blurred folks in the stands. That's against Navy, probably a linebacker or a safety who missed him. You see the detail. You see you maybe can't see it as good here, but his eyes, his hands. He broke in his hands, so he's got 2 of them taped up there. Some people would say from a football perspective, he doesn't have the ball as tight as he should to his body. See that? Anything else you notice about the picture? Worth noting? I'll give you a hint. Little bit bigger arms then, a little bit bigger butt then for sure. Probably a little bit more beard too, exactly. But Point is, the picture, I love this, it's one of my favorite pictures. Because it's actually not about me, it's actually about Tim Brown. But to this day, when you talk about personal brand, that's Byron. I get joy out of opening holes and doors for people. And that's just one example. I believe he scored on this particular play, right off my butt. To this day, he calls me By Rock. And every time I see him or he texts me, it's like, By Rock, what you doing? It just goes back to who I am. I can't get away from that. I'm an offensive lineman. I love it. That's part of my personal brand. So the moral of all this is two things, particularly for the students. Take that journey and run with it. Celebrate the moments, recognize the catalytic moments, take in the advice. You may not agree with all of it, but surround yourself with a personal board of directors. Folks like Barry Salzberg, my 6th grade teacher, Miss D. Berry, Coach Black, my high school coach, obviously my mom and dad. Take that advice and run with it. Run with it. And have that personal board of directors around you. And then the second part of that is create your personal brand. Let people know how you're gonna show up and own it. Own it and embrace it, okay? We're gonna switch to the sizzle reel now, and then we're gonna have Martin come up and get a further look into the NBA. But if you can go ahead and cue the video, come on up, Martin.
Celtics are NBA champions. The Aces on top yet again. The Blue G League champs. Switzerland, the champions of Africa. What a season it's been. Are you kidding me? Oh my God! That's the future.
Not just a moment, but a movement in women's basketball. That's what I'm talking about. Hold on to your hats, folks.
Electricity off the charts. Lakers win the first NBA Cup.
In their first appearance in the summer 2024, the National Cup champs.
Steph and Sabrina. Tonight they go head to head.
That was phenomenal.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. George sets it up for LeBron. You bet. An all-star record, a scintillating show.
Are you not entertained, ladies and gentlemen?
Even chance up. He's got it. Bang! Shot.
Oh, and so on, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah, baby.
I like it. I like it.
Curry dancing on the toe. Over the double team. Oh! It's a golden dagger. The United States of America is golden.
So Martin, I know we said we're just gonna have a conversation, but I can't help but, again, be a little bit biased in saying, anytime I'm on campus, I get the juices going through me, and hopefully anytime you see something like that in our sort of NBA sizzle reels, I tell our team all the time, it's like we have a privilege and an honor to serve in this league and work for our players, for the most part, to put on those types of products. So with that, I just say another quote, one of my favorite quotes, another favorite quote from now Coach Holtz, and I never learn anything talking, I only learn things when I ask questions. So we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation here, but get your questions ready. Get your questions ready. A few treats over here too. Can't go to a NBA kind of, not sponsored, but NBA event without a t-shirt toss. So be ready with your questions.
Be ready. Well, great, Byron, thank you again. Let's start with talking a bit about your role at the NBA and what it entails.
It really entails a lot of what you saw in the video, and that's why I like showing it, because basically with Joe Dumars, yes, Joe Dumars, our leader of basketball operations, he's responsible for all the on-court product, if you will, including the discipline and things of that nature. But when you think about, he always says we want to make sure the game is clean. So rule changes that affect the game, obviously we do analytics to support his view, but We do all the rule changes through Joe and our competition committee. Then Evan Wash is a Northwestern grad in MIT, and he leads our basketball strategy and analytics. So anything regarding innovation. So in there you saw a little bit of the NBA Cup now, then in-season tournament this year, Emirates NBA Cup. So those are innovations. The play-in tournament are innovations to our game. Certainly too around the analytics of the game, both the fan part as well as the game itself. He's responsible for all that. So 2 key folks on my team. And then in addition, we've got referee operations led by Albert Sanders. Guy came from Google, has a great sort of mindset about being our GM, general manager of our referee operations. And then we pulled Monty McCutcheon, a great official, off the court 7 years ago. And now he basically mentors from the seat of the senior vice president of development and training of our officials. So it's one thing to change the rules, it's another thing to adjudicate them fairly on the court for our players. And then the last area is our global expansion in terms of global player development. A guy named Troy Justice, along with a few others, leads that area. So we're talking about, think about it, there's almost 30% of our players now are born outside the US. So how do we continue to feed and seed the talent pipeline globally for our game, but also how do we attract viewership from that perspective? So just take someone like, you saw kind of Victor Wembanyama in that clip, and just think about the generational talent that he brings, the excitement around France, both the men and women's Olympic teams were US versus France this year. So a lot going on globally as well that is all part of sort of my role in my team. So it's fun. It's fun.
Thank you. I love how, when I asked you about your role, you immediately go to your team.
Well, again, the journey you can't do by yourself, but also this type of work, you got to have a great team around you for sure.
No, that's right. I think everything that we do, we always do it in a community as part of a team.
Right.
So if you think about your role and your team, what are some of the most challenging and some of the most rewarding aspects?
I'll go to the rewarding because the NBA and global NBA brand itself has a platform that we are serious about. We know the reach. It's about the game, it's about the business, but it's also about the community, to your point. So we want to make sure we have a voice in a lot of things that we do. And as very much the rewarding part of being with the brand and on the platform, the challenges come in literally around, there's one Larry O'Brien to win every year. Now there's a second cup to win. So basically 2 things to win in any given season. And that creates some emotion, sometimes irrational emotion. And so a lot of the challenge gets down to some of the key areas like officiating, where we got to make sure it's consistent. We got to make sure it's being adjudicated fairly on the court. And right away, you'll have a team who says, no, Byron, you guys are wrong on that. And we have to listen and take it in, but the analytics or otherwise will show that we were right. And then on the other side of it, you'll have another issue. So to me, it's a lot of the stakeholder engagement, which is the opportunity and a large part of the job, but also becomes a challenge too, because there's so many levels of it that we have to make sure that we're addressing around the game.
Yeah, and some of the stakeholders have a particular perspective, and they may want what's good for them, but not necessarily what's good for the game. Or
one of the perfect examples of that is and we just had a competition committee meeting sort of preseason in Chicago a couple weeks ago, and it's made up of governors, GMs, players, coaches, referees, league, office. And so it's a great mix, to your point, a great mix of doing right by the game, kind of you'll bring a team perspective, but take your team hat off at the door, and let's do what's best for the competition in the game, as opposed to a particular team. And that's when we're doing our best as the league office and working with a group like the competition committee, that comes through big time.
Yeah, good. So at Mendoza, our fairly new tagline is grow the good in business. How does the MBA embody that idea?
I think it goes back to the platform and being able to, our mission is to inspire and connect people everywhere through the power of basketball. And I think even beyond basketball, sports is a unifier, it's a a way to galvanize people. And so sport itself, but even the world stage, including the Olympics of basketball, is a place where we like to bring people together, communities together, and grow the game from that perspective. It's certainly a business element of it, but it's a community element of it too. So I think we serve and bring good to business in that way for sure, for sure.
So you also serve on the University of Notre Dame's Board of Trustees. Can you tell a little bit about your role there on the board and how you as a board think about the university as a force for good, but also business as a force for good?
I think just embodying the Catholic mission. I've been on that board now almost 10 years. And so it's an honor to truly serve on our Board of Trustees. I currently lead undergraduate education and student life committee or chair it with the leadership of Father Dan Grudy and Father Jerry Ollinger. And they do a terrific job. The staff is incredible. And so to be involved at that level, being a student athlete, a parent, again, my wife went here, so we have so many perspectives, but inside views of the university, and I just love service. And so I'm loving being a part of that organization from the standpoint of how we can make a difference. They also, believe it or not, Father Jenkins, we laugh about it today, but he asked me to chair our then Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. And I say then, it was right as we were in the bubble. And so that whole adage of you ask a busy guy to do more things because he'll get it done kind of thing, or he or she. And so we kind of joke about it now, but that was just a wonderful way to create a framework. So I appreciate all the folks that served on that task force, including Father Bob.
Yes.
So great, congratulations to him.
Yeah, Father Bob.
Great inauguration ceremony, but Father Bob was so thoughtful on there as one of the members, and so it created a framework now that is still being used by Dr. Hugh Page and John McGreevy and others in terms of living the Catholic mission. And so I think our university is so special that way and can continue to make a difference in the world about all the things that we embody and embrace and are about.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you for your leadership on this very important issue. So you mentioned Father Bob. We had such a special week here on campus last week with the inauguration. Father Bob's, I think, beautiful special speech at his inauguration. You were there.
Yeah.
So any observations from your perspective?
A couple things. Again, thanks to Father Jenkins in terms of what he has done the last 18, 19 years in his leadership, and obviously Father Malloy and others that preceded him. Father Ted, of course. Father Bob, it feels to me, just has a special connection with the university and particularly our students. And so I think that is a lot to say about belonging and how he can lead from the front that way. Obviously, he has some great people around him like John McGreevy, like Shannon Cullinan. But we look forward to what he can continue to do given what Father Jenkins has set up, but kind of have his own stamp and imprint on it. And you could already see kind of where that direction was going, just given in the Joyce Center, all the students that were there. It was just amazing. Obviously a lot of faculty and board members, et cetera, but just to see that energy that he's bringing already is phenomenal. And so I think he would do a wonderful, wonderful job. We wish him well, we'll support him for sure, bring him all the resources and support he needs, but we're excited about his service.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and what struck me about the inauguration was that the women in the dorm that he's been living in for a while, how much they showed up and cheered him.
Very apparent.
And that was very infectious. And then he mentioned other dorms, and it was a great turnout of our students, a great turnout of our faculty and staff as well.
Yes.
I may add. I love this point about our Catholic mission being central to everything we do, our ambitions to grow as a research institution.
Right.
And I think very Catholic language about both and, bridging the visions, being a convener.
That's right.
I think all of that, I think has a lot of overlap with what the NBA is also trying to do, and being a bridge builder and convening people and thinking about both community and elite sports.
That's right. So NBA through sports and through basketball, and I think Notre Dame through the Catholic mission for sure. And so they're both great examples, and I've just personally been honored to be part of both organizations. Just very meaningful.
Thank you. That brings me to my next question, getting back to basketball and the NBA. So it's a very competitive industry. Mm-hmm. Professional sports, innovation is key.
Yep.
How does the NBA stay ahead in terms of innovation and fan engagement, for example?
Yeah, we try to do it through a number of different ways from a business perspective. That includes even, you've probably seen some of the reports about, new media partners and how that will continue to involve the production and broadcast of the game. But even the game itself, I'd have to say this, one of the things that impacted us in a huge way, and it was a huge project in a sense, was COVID. And obviously, university continued to stay open during COVID. We did what we did in the bubble from that standpoint. But what it created, I think, was even more outside the box thinking, if you will. So the traditionalists would have said, well, let's continue to do things very similar to the way we've done them. But COVID and the bubble and things that came from it actually created more of a thought process to think differently. And so we were able to complete that season through that project. But beyond that came from it the play-in tournament, which is innovation. So at the end of the season, funny story there were times when, again, traditionalists before COVID would have said, because that idea has been out there a long time, but we finally executed on it during COVID, people would have said, well, why would you change up what you've done? Those 1 through 8 teams in each conference, they play all season to be 1 through 8. So why would you change that? But because of COVID and leveling playing field at the bubble, we did introduce the 8-9 version of it. And now, of course, we have the 7 through 10 version. And then we added the in-season tournament last year, now Emirates NBA Cup this season. And so what's happening there is it's almost like the season now is in a third. You got a third up through the NBA Cup, you got a third through All-Star, and then you got a third to the back end of the the regular season and then the postseason, including the play-in tournament. So we feel like we're innovating, but I think in a very strategic way as well, which is being picked up nicely by our viewers. But you got to get the players and the players union buy-in to all those types of changes, which has been key.
One other direction has been the increasing global reach.
Yes.
You mentioned having players from all over the world and having fans from all over the world. I was so struck. I had the first trip ever to the Philippines last, and how many people there are identifying with the NBA and also baseball. So how do you navigate the complexities of being a global brand, international expansion, and cross-cultural business strategy when, certainly in the global stage, there's a lot of international challenges?
Yeah, I think it still comes back to the power of sports, because that is the thing that people get grounded in. And so it could be any sport, soccer, NFL, what have you. But our game, I think, is very global by its nature. You can easily pick up a basketball, and we find that the younger kids pick up a basketball, the more inclined they are to play, maybe not even at the elite level, but if they at least play and pick up the game, they're likely to be a fan at some point too, and continue to be fans. So we try to do that all over the globe in terms of finding ways through junior NBA programs and otherwise to make sure our game is very relevant and easy to access anywhere we go. So we have a lot of programs that do that, from academy work all the way through to kind of NBA schools and other things that are just sharing and helping people understand the game itself.
You are a leader at Notre Dame, a leader at the NBA, previously at Deloitte. What are some of your leadership principles?
Stay grounded, be a person of integrity, be adaptable, and be ready for change. My mentor, sponsor, Barry Salzberg, always said, and I changed it up a little bit, but the 6 P's. So proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance. He used to always say that. And you and I were having a conversation earlier. I always try to spin it a little toward the more positive, because that could be viewed as negative. So my version was, but again, through him, proper planning and preparation promotes peak performance. And so when you think about that, there are ways that you absolutely can get ingrained in terms of what you're doing day to day, week to week, month to month to make yourself better, but then also the organization that you're part of to bring that value and bring that perspective and bring that voice to helping make change. And so I try to live by that.
Well, great. Proper planning and preparation promotes peak performance. Right. Great.
6 P's.
Wonderful. I think it's high time for some questions from all of you. So we have 2 people with microphones. Please wait with your question until they reach you with a microphone so that everyone can hear the question.
How you doing? You spoke about your responsibilities.
Name and where you from?
I'm Johan Abbott. I'm a master's student in accounting, and I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey. All right. We live in New Jersey now. Good to meet you.
Good little place. So you spoke about your responsibilities, the changing strategy, and then new rules. In those changes, there are a lot of stakeholders. So you have the players, the fans have their opinions on all these changes, and then finally the game. So can you speak a little bit about how you weigh those considerations and choose what's actually a good move?
Great point. I'll give you a couple examples along the way. If you think about, so it's a process for sure in terms of stakeholder management, but once you get the competition committee included and on board, that helps because they are cut across all those constituent groups for the most part. Like I say, owners, players, coaches, referees, GMs, et cetera. So that process helps us to get ahead of some things, but also, I'd have to say, we were a little reactive to some things too. So think about the last 3 successive years in terms of what we've changed. Go back 3 years, it was non-basketball moves, and this is all a year process, but then it happens at the beginning of the year. So non-basketball moves, cleaning that up. Then transition take foul, because that was just, that quick foul that just kills a fast break, so we cleaned that up. And then last year was flopping, guys overreacting to minimal contact. And so those 3 things have helped to clean up the game. We didn't have anything like that major this year, but we still look toward, you'll see it, called proximate foul, being able to a coach's challenge, being able to pick up a proximate foul where the ball may go off of one player, but because of that foul, that's really why it went off that player. So you want to get the foul before you get the ball going out on the other team. And so things that, again, we clean up, but it's just a process that involves stakeholders. So the competition committee is always a great place to start those conversations and get their endorsement. Then we go through a full voting process with the Board of Governors. And I'm always relieved when those get passed. But that's a lot of socialization and other things that happen to get ready for those discussions and those decisions. But then once that happens, then it's full bore into like a preseason now to get ready to make sure our officials, they're in ref preseason meeting right now as we speak in Jersey, actually in Brooklyn, to get ready for the season to make sure we consistently adjudicate those changes too. So here again, from beginning to end, it's a process. And sometimes we're ahead of it, and sometimes we're a little reactive, but overall, you're just trying to clean those things up to make the game better and better for fan viewership as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Jimmy. I'm a freshman here. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. And I was wondering what advice you have for college students who are interested in a potential career in sports business.
2 ways to go about that. Of course, you heard my journey, and I'm a little biased when I say it this way. My view is it doesn't have to be 27 years of experience before coming into sports, but have some level of experience before going into sports. So you're bringing some value, whether it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, 27 years, you're bringing some value to the organization, NBA or otherwise. Teams as well, right? The other view of that is, no, Byron. And a lot of the guys are successful and gals are successful this way. It's like, no, I really want to do it. I'm going to do sports management. I'm going to do analytics. I'm going to do something that gets me in the door, and I'm just going to ride it from there. Think of Eric Spoelstra. He was a video coordinator, and now he's one of the great coaches in our league. And so there's 2 ways to sort of go that path. And again, I'm biased because of the way I entered it, but I have this discussion with a lot of people in terms of, well, if you find the right opportunity, or if you find the right connection, or if you find the right internship, or whatever it is that gets the bridge into it, then that's great. Let's have a discussion about it. So again, I'm open to those types of conversations, but there's really kind of two ways, in my view, to break in. And some people like I'm just gonna do it. And some people like, well, let's get some experience first. And I think it's more valuable that way. So I hope that answers your question, because it really is literally two ends of the spectrum in terms of how you do it. And it's up to you in terms of which path is the best. But get some advice along the way.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Got a few more. Hold up. You were from, you said Chicago? I didn't miss you either, but this USA basketball, all right? Because I don't think I have anything, I didn't bring any Knicks stuff, so, or Nets. You said Chicago, right?
I'll do my best.
Try that one out. Let's see.
Oh, you can get it.
Bingo. Yes, sir.
Alrighty, so first, how you doing today? My name is Damon Snow. I'm a senior here, majoring in business analytics.
Great.
And I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. So first, I want to start by saying thank you as an African-American man. Just thank you for being here, sharing with us your time, your experience, and your journey, and the wisdom that you have to offer. As I'm just very appreciative, to see representation in that sense.
You're giving me chills, man. You're gonna make me cry. Don't do that. But I appreciate you. Yep.
But now getting to my question. So you have been a leader in, the various aspects of your life, from your career to even, within your relationships and things of that nature. But, I feel like basically leadership is, a collaborative experience.
Yes.
You work with, teams of people. You have to, get buy-in from the players and such. But then you also have to pour into people. So I want to know what are some examples of how you have done that throughout your career, whether it be at Deloitte, the NBA, or wherever that may be?
Pour myself into people and their path and journey?
No, I would say more so, one, how you poured into people in terms of like building them up to make the team better as a whole. But then how have you been able to get buy-in for, the various things that you're trying to push forward for like the NBA?
Okay, so one is empowering my team members to do what they need to do. We give vision, we give clarity, but empowering them to actually make it happen. That's one. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, I mentioned it earlier, I don't mind clipping off a linebacker on the way either, in terms of trying to literally try to make a path for people. That's one. Mm-hmm. The other part, though, is the buy-in that is absolutely necessary. So it is conversations, it's socialization, it's a lot of way to bring people together to understand the issues. Analytics helps a lot of times. The data really helps a lot of times with making those cases, the business cases or otherwise, but bringing people into the conversation early. You know where you want to go, and you may actually have in your mind what the decision should be, but you got to bring a lot of people on the journey. So we spend a lot of time doing that, and don't underestimate the power and the necessity to do that as well. Because again, it's one thing to have a view as to where this needs to go, but if you don't have the backing or support, you're shot, and particularly in our business. So it takes a lot, but again, process-wise, you can make it happen.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. But you said, I don't have any Pelican stuff. USA basketball? All right. I'm getting better there. Others?
Thank you so much. My name is Kingsley from Nigeria. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing.
I should have brought some BAL stuff. What was I thinking?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just go straight to the question. I'm an MBA student here, second year, final year. I major in business analytics. So my question is more in the leadership direction. From your profile, you are a board member in AON, and of course, you're a president in the MBA section. and you're also sitting vice president in Deloitte. So my question is, among all your, from your career perspective, since you started your journey till now, can you please throw us some insight into areas where you failed in your leadership, and how are you able to come out of that failure and make success out of it? It's important to me, and I guess it's important to other people to learn from your failure perspective, so we can see how we can navigate as we continue to grow in the business section of it here in the United States. Thank you.
Growth, I'm gonna answer your question, and it actually cycles through a lot of the prior questions. And what I mean by that is, even at the NBA, one of the failures I had was not bringing particular groups of people along on one particular item. And this goes back several years ago now, but I tell people I always make the case of doing sort of a survey or poll before any big decisions now. So we make sure we've done the socialization, make sure we have the votes, because you don't want to have a situation otherwise. And so for that, I learned from my failings, if you will, and then improve that process for me and my team going forward. That particular one dealt with some of the changes we wanted to make the format of the game. Early days, I'm probably there 2-3 years at the time, and didn't appreciate how to navigate as well. I'm thinking I'm kind of this inside consultant, right? Coming from a Deloitte, et cetera. And while I understood that environment, I probably didn't understand the NBA environment at that time as well. And so here again, I learned from that failing, and ever since then have not made that mistake. But you're gonna fail. I mean, it's okay to fail, but the key to failing is to make sure you learn from it. What did I do wrong? How can I improve it? What direction would I go differently? Or what thing would I just totally turn around and reset to make it happen in a more positive way? So failure is just part of the journey. And so my key there, even in that example, is learn from it and change up the direction. Does that help? Okay, yep, thank you. Nigeria. Man, what team do you like? You like basketball, I'm assuming.
Good answer.
Good answer. Man, I think I'm gonna have to go with another USA, unless you like the Bulls, the Nuggets. You good? Oh, somebody, green, in the green, toss it back up, yeah. Oh. There you go. They're soft. Thank you. All right, thanks, guy. Others?
You have time for maybe 2 more questions?
My name is Justice. I'm in the Masters of Science and Management program. I'm from Chicagoland area, and I was wondering if there are 1 or 2 experiences that you had in your professional career that stood out and you knew, I can do this, and you've tried to carry that over into the NBA to have a successful career there so far.
The one that comes immediately to mind is the difference between a partnership where I came from for 20 years, and I was a partner for 12, versus the NBA and the environment there to navigate what we do on a day-to-day basis around sports. So, in other words, accounting, finance, consulting, those are all great platforms to grow as a professional service provider, developing people and serving clients. This is different in that, yes, you got talent matters that you have to deal with, and yes, you have organizational matters that you have to deal with, and yes, we're serving the game, but in a much different way. Now, all the skills sort of carry over, but you're still dealing with it in a much different way. And the way I bring that up, the reason I bring that up is I've had to learn that even some of the ideas that I bring, some will stick on the whiteboard and fall off. Some will not even hit the whiteboard. And then some will actually stick. And there's one more scenario. Some will actually hit the cutting room floor and come back and stick. So don't take that personally. Just say, no, well, right now it's not the NBA way, or right now is not the time. or maybe we'll come back to that later, but you can't take it personal, like they don't like my idea, I'm not bringing value, I don't have a voice. It's much different than that once you kind of understand the organization and navigating it. And that's not specific to the NBA, that's any organization. Make sure you're understanding the grounding of what their mission is and how you can fit into it, but yet be able to adapt and not take things personally when they don't work out the way you thought they should, because that may be an organizational way, but yet continue to grind and bring voice and vision and clarity forward. And so a lot of times that truly is the way you have to operate in any organization, so that you're getting the most out of it, but the organization is getting the most out of you as well. Yeah, thank you. You said Chicago. Oh. Man, I'm running out here of options. Bulls. I don't know if I think it's a small though. How about USA basketball? Let's do that. All right, I'm gonna try this again. Yeah, duck. I'm gonna try this again. But I'm gonna hit this guy first. There we go.
All right.
There we go.
We are almost at the hour, so one last question.
Yeah, I'll make this quick.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Byron. I'm David. I'm from Philadelphia. Big day for the Sixers, so that was awesome.
Yeah, Joel signed a big money bag deal there.
It's crazy. It's getting huge. But there's been a lot of, honestly, an explosion in investing in, the NBA, NFL, MLB, all professional sports from, institutional investors and private equity. And I know you guys allow a 20% stake right now with institutional ownership. I'm just interested to see if, your opinion on, if this is going to keep growing and, how the NBA is really dealing with this explosion.
Yeah, great question. A lot of resources in a lot of different places across the globe, as well as, to your point, international, strategic, and other investors. And so I can't get specific, but we will continue to monitor that in terms of how we move forward from the standpoint of growing the game in different parts of the world, like the BAL, Basketball Africa League, and other leagues that we might be looking at in the future. And I guess the recent words that Adam has used too, both US and domestically and internationally and abroad, as to how we may expand in the future. We've been focused very much on two things: the players' collective bargaining agreement a couple years ago, the recent media deals, and now he's been very public to say we'll start to take a process around what expansion may look like too. So certainly investors are going to be a big part of that as we move forward. Yeah, great. Where'd you say you were from? Philadelphia. Philly. Man. I tell you what. How about the W? The what? The WNBA. Yeah, why not? Yeah. There you go. Woo. Yeah. There you go.
Great.
There
Well,
before you give me that, let me give out a couple. Any Lakers fans in here? Because I don't want to take these home necessarily. There we go. Nuggets, Jokic, Nuggets, Denver. Oh, all right. Bulls, small, Fiona. And a few more W. Gotta go. There. It's a medium, so here we go. All right. We don't want people going for grabs here.
Right.
There you go. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking Byron. Thank you for coming, and go Irish.